Throughout time, people have recorded sacred texts and precious information to preserve it for their children and for future generations. Today, countless hours are spent by scholars interpreting these documents in the continuing search for light and truth. In March 1830, an amazing book was published in Western New York. It was no ordinary book. That book, the Book of Mormon, is a large collection of ancient religious and personal records, written by dozens of people over hundreds of years in several locations in the ancient Near East and in ancient America. Scholars from several nations are now making new discoveries that substantiate the unique and significant contributions this book offers to the world. For millions of people around the world today, nothing is more sacred or more important than the testimonies preserved in this book that Jesus is the Christ and Redeemer of the world. The plates from which the Book of Mormon was translated were entrusted in 1827 to Joseph Smith, then 21 years old and living a few miles north of the hill now known as the Hill Cumorah, near Palmyra in upstate New York. After several setbacks and hardships, Joseph was joined by Oliver Cowdery on April the 5th, 1829, and by the end of June, Joseph had dictated and Oliver had transcribed the entire text of the Book of Mormon. Joseph testified all his life that this amazing feat was accomplished by the gift and power of God. Joseph invited all people to learn for themselves, even by study and also by faith, whether this book is or is not what it claims to be. Now, many years after the publication of the Book of Mormon, a unique scholarly research and service organization exists with its goal to make the finest, most credible materials about the Book of Mormon available worldwide. That organization is the Foundation for Ancient Research and Mormon Studies, or FARMS, as it is popularly known. FARMS is dedicated to writing, collecting, researching, publishing, and distributing exciting, useful, and reliable Book of Mormon research. The field of Book of Mormon research is dynamic and rapidly developing. In the 19th century, very few books or articles of any kind were written about the Book of Mormon. In recent years, there have been thousands of all kinds. As the church has grown, opponents have produced books and articles against Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon. At the same time, many faith-promoting books of sound scholarship have been written about the prophet Joseph and the Book of Mormon. FARMS has developed a tremendous inventory of materials to answer questions for people seeking truth about the Book of Mormon. It has become a place where scholars constantly seek to find deeper understanding of this remarkable book. And because the scholars involved in this work are committed not only to the highest possible standards of academic rigor, but also to the task of making these discoveries available in a popular form to as many people as possible, they have unselfishly and vigorously supported the efforts of FARMS to bring this information to the world. The Foundation has offices in the Amanda Knight Hall at Brigham Young University. The use of these offices is donated to FARMS by the university. This is the only institutional support received by the Foundation. The Foundation is a service organization. It is a self-sustaining, non-profit, tax-exempt research and educational organization dedicated to the study of ancient scripture. It coordinates and supports research on the Book of Mormon and works to make the results of that research available widely and economically as a service to teachers and students of the Scriptures. Since FARMS is a non-profit corporation, its purpose is not to make money for anyone. The office staff is paid, but other officers, directors, and many other volunteers serve without any compensation whatsoever. All royalties received by FARMS for the books it publishes are dedicated entirely to Book of Mormon research. FARMS has come to signify the highest standard of scholarship and commitment to the Book of Mormon. The foundation motto, taken from a verse in the Doctrine and Covenants, is by study and also by faith. Specifically, what does the foundation do? It produces a newsletter about Book of Mormon research and happenings. It promotes, coordinates, sponsors, and finances research about the Book of Mormon. It publishes books and papers and sponsors seminars and lectures about Book of Mormon topics. It collects and distributes information to any interested person about ancient studies and the Book of Mormon, and also fields questions and inquiries from every corner of the world concerning this great book. The newsletter is published 6 times a year. It contains news about the latest Book of Mormon research, recent publications, and about upcoming projects and events. The newsletter is easy to read and has an order form for obtaining books, articles, tapes, and videos that Farms has made available at the lowest possible cost. The Farms newsletter was the first to announce, for example, the discovery of the name of Abraham in several ancient Egyptian papyri, a point of considerable interest to Latter-day Saint scriptorians. One of the most popular features of each newsletter is the latest Farms update. The update is a 1-page, clearly written summary of the most exciting Book of Mormon discovery of the last few months. New ideas are surfacing all the time. For example, the updates were the first to publish to an LDS audience the discovery of domesticated barley in pre-Columbian America. This is significant because barley is mentioned as a prominent crop in the Book of Mormon, but it was unknown in the Americas until 1983. In addition to its newsletter, Farms also publishes the latest research reports and working papers written by various scholars. By keeping overhead and inventory low, the Foundation is able to make these papers available at an extremely low cost. Farms also reprints old but still important articles about the Book of Mormon that most people do not know exist, and even if they know of their existence, would still have a very hard time locating them. In effect, Farms puts the world in touch with a vast library of Book of Mormon materials and brings them as close to readers as their mailbox.
I can't think of anybody that I know that shouldn't be on the Farms mailing list if they're seriously interested in searching the Scriptures. It is the greatest help I've ever seen.
I've been on the Farms mailing list for over a decade, and I find the material just terrific to read. It's faith promoting. It just is very helpful with my testimony of the gospel.
Farms makes a whole research library available to every member of the church. This library is as close to you as your mailbox. It will help every member of the church who is interested in studying the Book of Mormon or teaching the Book of Mormon.
The member and the non-member who is interested in literary style, who's interested in historical and archaeological findings, would find this material challenging, stimulating, and when you take one chapter and realize there are as many as 50 to 150 references, footnotes, someone has done a lot of work if we'll just partake.
Book publishing is also a major research service provided by Farms. At the rate of 4 or 5 volumes a year, the Foundation has researched, edited, and produced a steady flow of new and useful information about the Book of Mormon and ancient studies. Several of these books have been landmark publications. The first book published by Farms was Professor John Sorensen's An Ancient American Setting for the Book of Mormon. This book, for the first time, placed Nephite cultural history in the context of American hemispheric realities. It has become required reading for all people interested in American antiquities and the Book of Mormon. 2 of the most recent books published by Farms are Rediscovering the Book of Mormon and Re-exploring the Book of Mormon. Rediscovering contains 23 short essays giving fresh insights on the Book of Mormon in a form accessible to all readers. Re-exploring is a wonderful volume containing the best of the last 10 years of Farms research as reported in the newsletters. Another important publication was The Sermon at the Temple and the Sermon on the Mount by John W. Welch. This book presents a uniquely Latter-day Saint interpretation of the Sermon on the Mount based on insights supplied especially by the sermon given by the resurrected Christ at the Temple of Bountiful as recorded in 3rd Nephi. One of the greatest contributions by Farms has been to prepare and publish the collected works of Hugh Nibley. This extraordinary series, projected to exceed 20 volumes before it is completed, contains the incomparable insights of one of the most prolific and brilliant LDS scholars of this century. These books, co-published by Deseret Book, are preserving the writings of a man who has dedicated his entire career to bringing understanding about the ancient scriptures to the world.
Hugh Nibley is the most distinguished, and accomplished historian and linguist in the history of the church, and to preserve his corpus for the future is critical.
I think that people like to read Nibley because he provides them constant intellectual as well as spiritual stimulation.
Of all the scholars who beaver away at a particular time, there are a few who focus and magnify the insights toward which their contemporaries are tending. And these few become spokesmen for their generation, and they speak to the next generation. That's why their readers resonate with them, and why they teach us. I think Hugh Nibley is one of these.
We have been extremely excited about the response that we have received from this set of collected works. People have been able to read many of his writings and find out his thoughts and feelings about the church, about the Book of Mormon, how the church related to early Christianity. One of his most popular books has been Approaching Zion, which is volume 9 in the series. And this particular volume deals with his thoughts and ideas on wealth, obtaining wealth, and what it does do or doesn't do for us, and has literally changed lives. And to this point has probably been the most popular book.
The Foundation is also involved in preparing a computer CD-ROM for all available Dead Sea Scroll research. The Dead Sea Scrolls represent a major interest to Christians, Jews, and other religious affiliations. The creation of a Dead Sea Scrolls CD-ROM database by the Foundation will enable scholars and students alike to access the Dead Sea Scrolls in a manner previously unknown. Bibliographies, maps, audio tapes, and videos are also produced as study aids and as popular resources for viewing audiences. In addition to numerous lectures made available and broadcast on television, the Farms video entitled The Faith of an Observer, Conversations with Hugh Nibley, remains one of the most popular and impressive LDS intellectual biographies ever produced on film. Another very important contribution by Farms is the annual publication of the Review of Books on the Book of Mormon. Every year, Farms researchers review the significant books written pro and con about the Book of Mormon during the past year. This volume has become a valuable resource for students, readers, and teachers.
In a large academic library like this, particularly here at BYU, we have so many people who come and ask about religious subjects and want to have sources of information. And as I've worked here for several years and have answered people's questions, I have found that one of the very most useful sources of information that I have to share with people is the Farms catalog. And of course we have excellent resources here. We have a computer base, and for instance, we've put together a list here of Hugh Nibley's works and all of the various chapters and so forth. And yet, as I work with patrons, I find myself repeatedly going to the Farms catalog and the center section here that has a listing of all the various things that Farms has put out. I just constantly am sending people down to the Farms office to be, and I have actually found that they can go to the Farms office and buy these things for the same price that they could go out in the stacks here and Xerox them for, and they're well put together with the Farms logo and so forth. And so I find it very, very useful. We keep a lot of these catalogs here and pass a lot of them out all the time.
Many people benefit from the work of Farms. Scholars benefit by making contact with each other and by having at their disposal resources and references for further research.
As a scholar, I have wanted to benefit from what other people have done. I wanted to generate additional work. And in Farms, by participating, I've been able to receive the material that others have done, new stuff, which has personally benefited me.
As a scholar, I think one of the things that I appreciate most about Farms is the fact that it's opened up a new avenue, a new way of publishing and producing and distributing materials that we didn't have access to before. It opens up another place where we can discuss issues that are important to us as members of the church and as scholars, as people concerned with matters of antiquity and how they relate to Mormonism, to the gospel.
Farms as an organization puts me in contact with people who are working on Book of Mormon topics all over the world. I wouldn't know about their projects, I wouldn't be able to communicate with them. If we didn't have a network of scholars to collaborate and communicate with each other, Farms makes all that possible.
Teachers benefit by receiving answers to questions and having a reliable source for materials that give their students a vivid understanding of the Book of Mormon.
I've had the opportunity to teach Book of Mormon classes on campus here at Brigham Young University, and although I don't devote them entirely to Farms materials, I found quite often the materials produced by Farms have been useful, and especially to students who've come to me asking questions. I can refer them to treatments that have already been published that are very helpful in answering their questions and in helping them deepen their understanding of the Book of Mormon. It's an extremely valuable resource, and can be as well in gospel doctrine classes for those who are inclined in this direction. I think it provides a very valuable service.
Students benefit from Farms by receiving clear information and sound scholarship that helps build their testimonies and helps them understand one of the most challenging, demanding, and inspiring religious texts of all time.
I have a brother who's also a student, and he recently had a roommate who was chiding him about several things that he considered to be anachronisms in the Book of Mormon. Well, my brother called me up and he asked me, Matt, do you know any answers to some of these questions that I have? And I was able to go right down to Farms and obtain several papers that I sent to him. And my brother called me up several days later and told me, well, he's not chiding me anymore.
I don't think there's anything that we can spend our time on that is more rewarding or more important. I have a statement that says, whatever we do with our time, we're paying for it with our life. And so when we spend our time, is it worth giving our life to? I believe a study of the Scriptures and the Book of Mormon is worth giving our time to, which is our life. But I think it gives us life. I think it gives us perspective. These documents, these wonderful books, should never take the place of the Scriptures, of course. Nothing does replace the Scriptures. But a regular study of the Scriptures, particularly the Book of Mormon, invites further investigation. And then with additional resources, you come back to the Book of Mormon and you see greater meaning and deeper understanding of things that you read on the surface before.
While Farms does not speak for any other organization, its findings are freely given to any worthy effort. For example, many Farms projects have been useful to the Ensign and other church publications. Readers all over the world benefit from the work of Farms. The foundation is dedicated to provide materials that will enhance each person's understanding of the Scriptures. Farms has worked in cooperation with the Department of Continuing Education at BYU to film and transcribe lectures and classes about the Book of Mormon and then provide those free of charge to cable television stations for broadcast to local areas. Hugh Nibley's Book of Mormon class is now available through the foundation for any TV station who will provide broadcast time. Many of the scholars principally involved with Farms are full-time professors at Brigham Young University. The foundation draws on other scholars worldwide. The leadership of the foundation includes Noel Reynolds, who is currently serving as president. He is a former associate academic vice president of Brigham Young University. He received his PhD from Harvard and now teaches in the political science department at BYU. Stephen D. Ricks serves as chairman of the board of directors. He received his PhD from the University of California at Berkeley and the Graduate Theological Union. He is a professor of Hebrew and Semitic languages at BYU. John W. Welch is a BYU professor of law, as well as one of the directors of the BYU Religious Studies Center. He was the founder of Farms and served as its president for its first 8 years. He has a master's degree in Greek and Latin and spent 2 years studying Greek philosophy at Oxford University before completing law school at Duke University. Welch and Reynolds both served as editors of the Encyclopedia of Mormonism, published by Macmillan. Other members of the board of directors include Donald W. Perry, who has a PhD in Middle East Studies, Hebrew, and has studied at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Mel Thorne, who has a PhD in American Studies from the University of Kansas and was a former editor for 6 years for the Church Curriculum Department. Daniel Peterson, PhD in Near Eastern Languages and Cultures from UCLA and faculty member at BYU. Bill Hamlin, with a PhD from the University of Michigan in History, and Brent Hall, a graduate of BYU in International Relations, with over 20 years' experience in business and management. All these people work together to support and promote the purposes of the Foundation. As its logo indicates, the work of Farms puts together, like pieces of an ancient structure, everything from the beginning to the end of antiquity, from the Alpha to the Omega, that is relevant to the Book of Mormon. Old Testament studies in Hebrew, New Testament studies in Greek, cultural and religious studies from Egypt, and archaeological and anthropological from Mesoamerica are all brought together within the Foundation for Ancient Research and Mormon Studies. An enormous amount has been accomplished since the Foundation was organized in 1979. Much more remains to be done in the future. Farms is a non-profit corporation. It needs your help in order to fulfill its mission.
The work is urgent and the time may be short. We don't know how much time we have left to do on this research. We need your help now. Nations are being opened up, and every word that is given can help people grow to come closer to Christ as we build up the kingdom of God.
Your subscriptions and donations are crucial. The demand continues to grow, and we do not begin to meet the need for information and research about the Book of Mormon and other Latter-day Saint scriptures. Distribution costs are ever increasing. New research opportunities are abundant.
Your contributions to Farms are very important. They will make a big difference. You should understand it's because of these contributions that these programs are able to go forward. And because of the many hours of volunteer service given to Farms, your contribution will go further here than probably any other place.
The Book of Mormon is true, and the Gospel's true. And by the Spirit I know this. But the depth that Farms brings to me is a depth of understanding, because the research is so meaningful to bring out the words of Christ that makes a change in my life. And to that, I'm thankful to Farms.
President Ezra Taft Benson has said, every Latter-day Saint should make the study of this book a lifetime pursuit. Otherwise, he is placing his soul in jeopardy and neglecting that which would give spiritual and intellectual unity to his whole life. Sharing that vision, we hope that you will help by sharing your time and resources. We are confident that you will be blessed by the result.